welcome back to Yoga Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Waycott. As always, it is so good to be in the recording studio, sharing the podcast with all of you. And it actually feels really good to sit down. I'm just like relaxing in my chair. I've got a cup of tea that hopefully I won't spill on myself. And I thought that this week I would just do a little check-in, just a casual like recap of the week, what I've been up to, almost like this is a little diary. It has been one of those weeks where it feels like all of the things that come with being an independent yoga teacher and like the responsibility that comes with that are turned up on full volume. And I feel like I have been pulled in so many different directions this week, and there's been so many different tasks to tend to. And you know, some weeks are just like that. Like not every week is like that, but this is one of those weeks where I kind of felt like I wish I could clone myself so I could be in multiple places at once, or like I wish I had an assistant. And I think like anybody who has, you know, any kind of business, especially if you're self-employed, you get to a point where you start to wonder, like, is it time to outsource more things? And like, you still feel like you can do it all on your own. And it makes sense to do it all on your own because not every week is like equally busy. But this was one of those weeks where I was like, I wish I had some extra help just to be so real. You know, there's a lot of like marketing tasks to take care of, and I was creating some assets this week for social media. Basically like doing graphic design, which again, you know, is part of the job for us sometimes as yoga teachers, especially when we're running events and trainings and stuff on our own. And I'm like, I'm not very confident in my graphic design skills. I don't know why. Just, I think because like I don't have any formal training in graphic design. And sometimes I kind of like, I don't know, don't trust my own eye on things when I'm like creating them. But I feel like the assets that I made actually turned out okay. But I feel like I always need to like send them to someone and ask somebody else for like a second opinion. I'm like, does this look fine? Or am I just like out of my mind? So there was some like design work that I had to take care of, social media content. I was scheduling newsletters to go out. I was doing some prep for an upcoming retreat. I was getting ready to launch an in-person masterclass, like a one-day training that's coming up next month. And I will make a mental note right now to give you a little bit more information about that at the end of the podcast today. And then I had like a ton of meetings this week. I think today is going to bring me to like meeting number 6 in the last week, which feels like quite a bit. And all of them except one were in-person meetings. So I was like meeting with, you know, industry colleagues, like peers in the industry. I got to sit down with one of my longtime mentors, which was really special and very, always just like very nourishing for me. And it's just been a week where I've been pulled in a lot of different directions. And I feel like, I don't know, there's just like some unexpected things that happened this week as well. I feel like a couple of months back, I was talking about how I got like stuck in a flood. And like trapped kind of like on the wrong side of a flood. And I feel like something kind of similar happened this week. We, I don't know, over the past few years, we seem to be having more and more like extreme weather events here in southern British Columbia where I live. And we had a lot of really, really intense rain this week. And something funny, I mean, yeah, it's funny because like everybody was safe and fine. But something funny that happened this past week was my husband, who's a like music producer and a professional musician, like he plays in bands and does performances and stuff. He was playing a show really close to where I was going to be teaching yoga this past week. And so we figured, like, why not carpool? Why not just go out together? And like, he was going to drop me off. I was going to teach my classes, and then he was going to come get me after his gig. And the timing of it worked out where like I was teaching at about the same times that he was playing. And we're like, yeah, we'll just, we'll take one car, right? It makes sense. And so I got to my classes, and then shortly after that, I saw some text messages from him, and he said that on his way up to his gig, the road had been completely washed out, and the RCMP were there, and they were like turning people around and saying, you can't pass. And so now he's like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I'm already, out here. And he needed to wait to be able to come pick me up for my classes. And so I was like, why don't you just come to my yoga classes? Like, you're going to have to just come to class. And of course, like, he wasn't just for yoga. Like, he's in jeans and like, a button-up shirt. And I guess he like super fast went and drove to an Old Navy and bought himself a pair of pants and showed up at my yoga class like 5 minutes before it started. And it was just so funny because I know that that was not in the cards for him at all to be coming to yoga, let alone almost 3 hours of yoga because my classes are a bit longer. Like, that was really unexpected. And so he comes to class and everybody's like, what is he doing here? Like, why is he at your yoga class? Because he doesn't typically attend my classes. He actually is quite familiar with a lot of aspects of yoga just from living with me for so long and, helping me out with some different parts of my work. But he doesn't typically come to my yoga classes. Like, it's a pretty rare occurrence. And I felt bad that he unexpectedly had to come for like so many hours of yoga because like the foundations class is usually fine, but he also had to stay for my vinyasa class, which is known for being long and also sometimes a little bit higher intensity. Like, some nights are a more challenging kind of fiery practice. Yeah, but he did super, super well. And his feedback was that he really liked it and he felt calm afterwards. Surprise, surprise. And he said that feeling of calm lasted for him for a couple of days and that he thinks he needs to come more often. So I will report back if he returns to my yoga class anytime soon. And then I also had like in the midst of like this very busy week with so many different things going on, the vehicle that I have driven for the last, 7 years, has decided that it is completely unfixable. And I kind of unexpectedly had to go purchase a new to me, not brand new, but a new to me vehicle this weekend. And that wasn't, again, in the cards for me. I didn't really know that I was going to be going and getting a vehicle. So in the midst of all of this, just backstory is like I've been driving this old Ford F-150 for like 7 years. And I feel like when people meet me, they don't expect that like that's going to be my vehicle because in person, like I'm pretty small and like short. And then I have this vehicle that's like so big. It has been described as burly before, and I have to like climb up into it because it's so high. But it's actually been like a really good in some ways vehicle for me. It's taken me on lots of adventures, lots of hikes, lots of road trips, lots of good memories associated with that vehicle. But it has also at the same time been problematic since like literally the day that I got it. Like, it's constantly had issues, and thankfully my husband has always been able to fix the issues and like resolve them himself and, replace parts that are needed and stuff. It's just comes with driving an old Ford. But it finally got to the point where like the issues were no longer fixable. The truck isn't going to drive, and like I need a vehicle to get around and get to work. And so, yeah, I had to go through that whole process of like picking up the new vehicle and all the transfers and canceling insurance on one and getting insurance on the other. And, you know, it's just a hassle, right? And I'm thankful that I was able to get a new vehicle. But again, that was not in the cards for this weekend. And I will be saying goodbye to the truck. I think that this afternoon, it's literally going to the truck graveyard. Like, I'm not reselling that truck. So I think this afternoon, someone from like the truck scrapping place is gonna come to my house and like pick it up and take it away. And we kept saying we feel like we need to have like a Viking funeral for the truck and say goodbye to it, because it has truly been on a lot of adventures. So I will miss that vehicle, but I won't miss like all of the mechanical issues that it had. Yeah, so that was like, you know, just again, another kind of like unexpected part of the weekend. Yeah, and now here we are, another week. I do want to tell you about the masterclass that I have coming up. So if you are local to the Fraser Valley here in British Columbia, the Lower Mainland, Vancouver area, Washington State area, I am teaching a 1-day verbal cues masterclass, and that is coming up on Sunday, April 19th. So it's about a month away, so lots of time to plan ahead for it. I used to teach this masterclass or like small training over the course of 2 days, but I've decided to condense it and try it in a 1-day format just to see if that's a little bit easier on people's time. I know that it's hard to commit to a full weekend, especially if you're working or have a family or have caregiving duties. So it's going to be like a 1-day intensive. And we're going to take a look at the psychology behind communication in the yoga classroom. We are going to look at how to break down poses into like logical steps that actually make sense so that you don't feel overwhelmed by them. We are going to take a look at what it takes to communicate in the classroom in a way that like lands with your students, resonates with them, makes sense right away. And as part of this masterclass, there will be about a 90-minute like morning practice to start your day, where you'll really get to experience that clarity in action, and you'll get to hear and experience cues that are really clear and like what they sound like, what they feel like in your body. We will go over some of the theory behind what makes an effective verbal cue. How can we be like more concise with our language? And then we're going to get into a lot of teaching practice. So you'll have time to actually teach your peers, to get feedback in real time. You'll have the opportunity to workshop maybe some of the habits that you've developed in your teaching, because that's such a real thing, especially if you've been teaching for a while, is like we start to just develop little habits and, you know, ways of saying things that are just the way that we say it, but it's not necessarily the most effective way. So we'll take a look at that, and then we'll also go over things that maybe like you're feeling a little bit stuck on, poses or practices where you feel like it's challenging for you to find the words to effectively communicate what you want to say to your group and to your students. And I just know that this is going to be a very potent masterclass where you're going to walk away with skills that you can begin to implement into your teaching the very next time you teach. It is so practical. And I know that people who have taken this training before have come to me and said that they get so many compliments on their cues now, and students are just saying to them, like, your cues are so clear and they're so easy to understand. And they've told me that they're implementing a lot of the tips and techniques that I've shared with them in this workshop. So if you want to join, Sunday, April 19th in Abbotsford, British Columbia. It is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The training is eligible for 6 CE credits through Yoga Alliance. So if you are registered with Yoga Alliance and you keep track of those things, feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure that you get a certificate so that you can get those credits. And I would love to have you. So if you're interested, you can reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is at alexandria.waycott. And you can just send me a DM or you can email me as well and just let me know that you want to register and I'll get you all set up for it. So I think that is my little mini update for the week. That's where I'm at. I also feel like I'm coming down with like a little bit of a cold. My nose is running while I'm talking to you. And last week in my classes, there were so many people away sick. Everybody was saying like, I have this little cold. I have this little chesty thing going on. And I was like, crap, I hope that I don't catch it. And sure enough, it's here. And I'm trying to repress it, but I think it's probably going to show up in full force in the next 24 hours. So yeah, just wish me luck. I was like, I called it citrus maxing this morning. I was like eating so many oranges and just telling myself that was going to make me feel better. But I think it's probably time, for like some Dayquil or something like that. But anyways, I appreciate you tuning into the podcast every week and taking the time to listen, even if it's just a little casual chat like I've got for you today. Don't be shy to reach out to me if you have been listening to the podcast. I would love to connect with you genuinely. Like, leave a comment, send me a DM on Instagram. And yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful week and I will see you next time on Yoga Insider.